Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
My mom called the cops on me and told them I was violent because I refused to hand over my paycheck like my brother does. So I let the body cam do the talking, and by the end of the week, everyone finally learned who the real problem was. Hey Reddit, buckle up because this is one of those family situations that's so messed up you'd think I'm making it up for internet points. But nope, this actually happened last week, and I'm still trying to process the absolute insanity of it all. So I'm a 27-year-old guy living at home while I save up for a down payment on a condo. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Grown man living with his parents sounds pretty pathetic. But here's the thing. I've been playing the long game. The housing market in my area is absolutely brutal. And I'd rather live rent-free for 2 years and buy something decent than blow money on rent and stay stuck in the cycle forever. At least, that was the plan before everything went sideways. Let me give you the family breakdown. There's me, my younger brother Joel, 24, and our parents. Joel and I couldn't be more different if we tried. I've worked at the same logistics company for 5 years, climbing from warehouse associate to operations supervisor. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, hit the gym, work my shift, come home, and handle my responsibilities. Pretty standard adult stuff, right? Joel, on the other hand, is what I generously call a professional disappointment. He works part-time at a video game store, mostly so he can get first dibs on new releases and the employee discount. He'll work maybe 20 hours a week if they're lucky. The rest of his time is spent in his room gaming, watching YouTube videos, or scrolling through social media looking at things he can't afford. Now here's where things get interesting. About 8 months ago, my mom sat Joel down and had a conversation with him about contributing to the household. Makes sense, right? He's 24, still living at home, barely working. Time to step up and be an adult. Joel's solution? He started handing over his entire paycheck to our mom every 2 weeks. Just gives her the whole thing, usually somewhere between $400 to $600 depending on his hours. My mom deposits it into her account, and Joel gets a little allowance back for gas money and whatever else he needs. Basically turned himself into a financial dependent again, like he's 12 years old asking for lunch money. My mom ate this up. She started telling everyone about how Joel was such a good son and so generous with his contributions to the family. Never mind that the contributions were basically nothing compared to actual household expenses, or that she was literally controlling his money like he was a child. In her mind, Joel had become the golden child who understood the importance of family. Meanwhile, I'm over here paying for my own car insurance, phone bill, groceries, gym membership, and putting away $2,000 to $2,500 every month into my savings. I've got about $38,000 saved up at this point, getting closer to that down payment goal. But because I'm not physically handing my money to my mom like some kind of medieval peasant paying tribute to the Lord, apparently, I'm not contributing to the family. About 3 months ago, my mom started making comments. Little jabs here and there about how Joel understands family values and how some people only care about themselves. I ignored it at first because honestly, I thought she'd get over it. She did not get over it. The comments got more frequent and less subtle. She'd mention at dinner how Joel helps out so much while giving me pointed looks. She'd tell relatives on speakerphone about Joel's generous contributions while I was in the room. One time she even said to my aunt, "Well, at least one of my sons understands that family comes first." I was sitting right there eating cereal. 2 months ago, she finally came out and directly asked me to start giving her my paychecks like Joel does. We were in the kitchen, and she just casually brought it up like she was asking me to pick up milk on my way home. I laughed. Not to be rude, but because I genuinely thought she was joking. She was not joking. "I'm serious," she said, crossing her arms. "Joel contributes to this household. It's only fair that you do the same." I explained to her, very calmly and respectfully, that I already contribute by taking care of my own expenses and not being a burden on the household. I buy my own food, pay my own bills, and even throw in money when we need household items. The only thing I'm getting from living at home is a free bedroom, which was the whole arrangement we agreed on when I moved back after college. "That's not the same as contributing to the family," she said, emphasizing the word family like it was some magical trump card. "Mom, I'm saving for a down payment on a condo," I explained. "I've been planning this for years. I'm not going to derail my financial future to hand you money I've already budgeted and allocated." She got this look on her face. You know the look. That mix of disappointment and anger that parents perfect over the years. "So your brother is the only one who cares about family? That's what you're saying?" "No, I'm saying that Joel's financial situation is different from mine. He's barely working part-time and has no long-term plans. I'm working full-time with actual career goals and savings targets. We're not in the same position. She didn't like that answer. She liked it even less when I pointed out that she's basically infantilizing Joel by controlling his money instead of teaching him to budget like an adult. That conversation ended with her walking away in a huff and not speaking to me for 3 days. I thought that was the end of it. I was very, very wrong. She started a campaign. That's the only way I can describe it. A coordinated effort to make my life uncomfortable until I gave in. She'd forget to buy groceries that only I ate. She'd run the dishwasher right after I'd put my dirty dishes in the sink, then complain that I never clean up. She'd schedule family dinners for times when she knew I'd be at the gym, then act hurt that I chose the gym over family. My dad stayed neutral through all of this, which is his move for everything. The man has perfected the art of being physically present, but emotionally checked out. He'd just grunt and go back to watching TV whenever my mom tried to recruit him to her cause. Joel, meanwhile, was loving every second of this. He'd make little comments about being the responsible one, and how he understands what it means to be part of a team. This is coming from a guy who I once watched spend 14 hours straight playing the same video game while eating pizza rolls and drinking energy drinks. But sure, Joel, you're the responsible one. The whole situation reached peak absurdity about 6 weeks ago. I came home from work to find my mom sitting at the kitchen table with a literal spreadsheet. She'd calculated what she called my fair share of household expenses: utilities, property tax, insurance, maintenance, everything. According to her math, I owed $1,800 a month, $1,800 to live in a house that my parents bought 30 years ago and have already paid off, for utilities that barely increase with one extra person, for food that I mostly buy myself anyway. I looked at this spreadsheet, which she had color-coded, by the way, and just started laughing. I couldn't help it. The sheer audacity of trying to charge me $1,800 a month to live in my childhood bedroom was so ridiculous that laughter was the only appropriate response. She did not appreciate my reaction. "This isn't funny," she said, her voice getting that sharp edge it gets when she's really mad. "This is about respect and family contribution. Mom, you could rent this room out for maybe $600 a month if you were lucky," I said, trying to stay calm. "The going rate for a room in this neighborhood is nowhere near $1,800. That's almost what a one-bedroom apartment costs. So you'd rather pay a stranger than support your own family?" She shot back. And there it was again. The family card. The ultimate guilt trip weapon in the arsenal of parents everywhere. I'd rather pay fair market value for housing than be financially exploited by my own mother, I said. Yeah, I probably could have phrased that better. She didn't speak to me for a week after that. But here's what really bothered me about the whole situation. It wasn't actually about money. My parents are fine financially. My dad has a good pension from his years as an accountant. They own their house outright. They've got retirement savings and no debt. This wasn't about needing my financial help. This was about control. This was about my mom wanting to be able to say that both her sons were contributing to the household under her terms, in her way. Joel handing over his paycheck made her feel needed and important, like she was running some kind of household economy. She wanted the same dynamic with me. But I'm not Joel. I'm not going to regress into being financially dependent on my parents just to make my mom feel validated. I've worked too hard to get where I am. Things were tense but manageable for a few weeks. My mom would make her passive-aggressive comments, I'd ignore them, and life would go on. Joel would puff up his chest about being the good son. I'd mentally roll my eyes, and that was that. But my mom wasn't giving up that easily. She started doing this thing where she'd talk about money constantly. At breakfast, she'd mention how expensive groceries were getting. At dinner, she'd sigh dramatically about the electric bill. She'd leave bills open on the counter, like I was supposed to see them, and suddenly feel compelled to hand over my paycheck. One time, she even printed out an article about how millennials who live at home should contribute more financially. Just left it on the kitchen table where I eat breakfast. The worst part was how she'd weaponize family events. My cousin's birthday party? She spent the whole time telling relatives about how Joel contributes so much, while I save everything for myself. She was building a narrative. She wanted everyone to see me as the selfish son, and Joel as the generous one. I also started noticing she'd do little things to make living there uncomfortable. She'd turn the heat down to 62 degrees in winter because we need to save on utilities, but only when I was home. She'd make dinner for the family, but portions would run out right before I got home from work, forcing me to cook my own food. One time I came home to find she'd rearranged the entire kitchen and accidentally packed up all my food into boxes in the garage. Said she was doing spring cleaning and didn't realize those were my groceries. These weren't accidents. These were deliberate attempts to make me so uncomfortable that I'd either give in or move out. Then last Tuesday happened. I got my bi-weekly paycheck, $2,847 after taxes and deductions. Pretty solid for logistics management in my area. I mobile deposited it into my account like I always do, right there at the kitchen table while eating my breakfast. My mom was watching me. I could feel her eyes boring into my skull. You know, she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. It would be really nice if you'd consider helping out more around here. I didn't even look up from my phone. I help plenty, Mom. Joel gives his whole paycheck, she said. Good for Joel, I replied, still not looking up. You're being selfish. That made me look up. She had her arms crossed, standing by the kitchen counter with this expression that was somehow both smug and angry at the same time. I'm being selfish by paying my own bills and saving for my future? I asked. You're being selfish by not contributing to this family, she corrected. I am contributing, just not the way you want me to. Then maybe you should find somewhere else to live, she said. There it was. The threat she'd been dancing around for months. The ultimate power play. I stood up, grabbed my work bag, and looked her dead in the eye. Maybe I will. I went to work. Had a totally normal day dealing with shipping schedules and inventory databases, and the usual logistics chaos. Came home around 6 p.m. to find my mom's car in the driveway, along with a police cruiser. A police cruiser. I sat in my car for a solid 30 seconds, just staring at it, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Did something happen to my dad? Was there a break-in? Did Joel finally do something stupid enough to warrant police involvement? My mind was racing through possibilities. Maybe someone broke into the shed. Maybe there was a car accident. Maybe a neighbor had some kind of emergency, and the cops were using our house as a staging area. Literally anything seemed more likely than what was actually happening. I grabbed my work bag and walked up the driveway, my heart pounding a bit faster than normal. I could see movement through the living room window. Definitely people in there. Definitely cops based on the uniforms. I walked up to the house and opened the door to find 2 cops in my living room. My mom was on the couch looking distressed, and I mean that in the performative way, like she was acting in a community theater production of Concerned Mother. She had this whole thing going, tissues in hand, dabbing at her eyes, that quiver in her voice that she pulls out for maximum sympathy. Joel was sitting in the armchair looking uncomfortable, like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. My dad was standing by the stairs looking confused, which was honestly his default state for most family drama. One of the cops, an older guy with gray hair and a name tag that said Officer Patterson, turned to me. Are you the son who lives here? He asked. Yeah, that's me, I said, genuinely confused. What's going on? We got a call about a domestic disturbance, he said. Your mother said you've been making threats and acting aggressively toward her. I just stood there. I'm pretty sure my brain blue-screened for a second because I couldn't process what I was hearing. I'm sorry. What? I finally managed to say. My mom stood up, and I swear she looked like she was about to cry. I'm scared of him, officer. He's been getting more and more angry lately, and this morning he threatened me. I looked at my dad. He had this deer in headlights expression, like he wanted to be literally anywhere else on the planet. Dad, you were here this morning? I said. Did I threaten anyone? He shifted uncomfortably. Well, I was watching TV in the other room. Of course he was. The younger cop, Officer Kim, according to his badge, stepped forward. Sir, we need to ask you some questions. Have you been making threats toward your mother? No, I said firmly. Absolutely not. We had a disagreement this morning about finances, and I told her maybe I should move out. That's it. That's the whole conversation. He said it in a threatening way, my mom interjected. He was angry and aggressive. This was unreal. This was actually happening. My own mother called the cops on me and was lying to them about me being violent. Officer Patterson held up his hand to quiet my mom. Ma'am, let's let him speak. I took a breath and explained the whole situation as calmly as I could. The paycheck issue, the months of pressure to hand over my money, the argument that morning. I kept my voice level and made sure not to sound defensive or angry, even though I was both of those things internally. So you never made any threats of violence? Officer Kim asked. No, sir. Never. He's lying, my mom said. And honestly, she was committed to this performance. He's been getting more aggressive for months. I'm afraid of what he might do. That's when Joel spoke up. Mom, come on. He didn't actually threaten you. We all turned to look at him. My mom's face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Joel, stay out of this, she said sharply. I was there this morning, Joel continued, looking uncomfortable but continuing anyway. He just said maybe he should move out. He didn't threaten anybody. My mom looked betrayed, like Joel had just stabbed her in the back. In her mind, he probably had. Her golden child was supposed to back her play, not tell the truth. Officer Patterson looked at my mom, then at me, then at Joel. You could see him putting the pieces together. This was clearly not the emergency situation my mom had made it out to be. Ma'am, making false reports is a serious matter, he said carefully. I'm not making false reports, she insisted. I feel threatened in my own home. Feeling uncomfortable and being threatened are two different things, Officer Kim said. Has he done anything physical? Broken anything? Made any specific threats? My mom couldn't answer that, because the answer was no. She just stood there looking frustrated that this wasn't going the way she'd planned. Officer Patterson turned to me. Do you have anywhere else you can stay for a few days? Just to let things cool down? I can probably stay with a friend, I said, even though the idea of being forced out of my own home because my mom made up a story made me want to scream. That might be for the best, he said, then turned to my mom. Ma'am, if there are no actual threats or violence, this is a civil matter between family members. We can't make him leave his residence based on you feeling uncomfortable with a conversation. She looked like she wanted to argue, but realized she'd already lost. The cops weren't buying her story. Joel had contradicted her, and now she just looked like someone who'd wasted police resources. The officers asked if they could speak to me outside, and I said sure. We went out to the driveway, and I could see the body cam on Officer Patterson's chest. It had been recording this whole time. Look, Officer Patterson said once we were outside, I've been doing this job for 23 years. That wasn't a domestic violence situation in there. That was a family argument about money. I know, I said. I don't know why she called you guys. I never threatened her. I've never been violent toward anyone in my entire life. I believe you, he said. But here's the thing. We got called. We have to file a report. It's going to show that we responded to this address for a domestic disturbance call. No charges, no arrests, but it'll be in the system. Officer Kim chimed in. The body cam footage shows what actually happened in there. If anyone tries to claim you were violent or threatening, we've got clear evidence that you weren't. The footage shows your mom making claims she couldn't back up and your brother contradicting her story. That footage is going to be in our report, Officer Patterson added. It's time-stamped, it's clear audio and video, and it shows exactly what happened. So if your mom tries to escalate this or make more claims, we've got proof of what actually went down tonight. I thanked them, and they left. I stood in the driveway for a few minutes just trying to process what had just happened. My own mother had called the cops on me and lied about me being violent, all because I wouldn't give her my paycheck. I went back inside. My mom was still on the couch, now actually crying. Joel had disappeared to his room. My dad was back to pretending he didn't exist. I can't believe you did that, I said to my mom. I was scared, she said weakly. No, you weren't, I replied. You were trying to punish me for not doing what you want, and you called the cops and lied to them. I didn't lie. Joel was literally right there and said you were exaggerating. The cops knew you were lying. There's body cam footage of the whole thing. She didn't have a response to that. She just sat there crying, but I was done feeling bad. She'd crossed a line that you don't come back from. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and called my buddy Dave. I explained the situation, and he immediately said I could crash at his place for as long as I needed. Dave's a good friend like that. I spent the next 3 days at Dave's apartment, and honestly, it was kinda nice. No tension, no passive-aggressive comments, no walking on eggshells. Just peace and quiet. Dave's a good friend. I gave him the Cliff Notes version of what happened, and he was just like, yeah, man, stay as long as you need. We'd grab food after work, watch some shows, decompress. It reminded me what normal felt like. During those 3 days, my phone was blowing up. My mom called 6 times the first day alone. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that started apologetic and progressively got more defensive. By the 6th voicemail, she was saying I was overreacting. Joel texted me twice. First, hey man, that was messed up. Sorry. Second, mom's been crying all day. Dad doesn't know what to do. I didn't respond. My dad called once. Left a voicemail that was basically just him sighing and saying, call your mother. Classic dad move. On Friday, my dad called me. Your mother wants to apologize, he said. She should, I replied. Can you come by the house so we can talk about this as a family? I agreed, but said I wanted to come by when I knew everyone would be home. I wanted witnesses to whatever was about to happen. I showed up Saturday morning around 10 a.m. The atmosphere in the house was weird. My mom was in the kitchen looking like she hadn't slept. Joel was on the couch looking uncomfortable. My dad was trying to act like everything was normal. My mom started with, I'm sorry for calling the police. You're sorry for calling them, or sorry for lying to them? I asked. She flinched. I didn't lie. I felt threatened. Mom, stop. Just stop. There's body cam footage of the whole thing. The cops said in their report that your claims couldn't be substantiated. Joel contradicted your story. You lied. She looked at Joel like he'd betrayed her again. Joel, to his credit, didn't back down. I'm not going to lie for you, Mom, he said. He didn't threaten anybody. My dad finally spoke up. Maybe we all just need to move past this. Move past it? I said, my voice getting louder than I intended. She called the cops on me and made false claims that could have seriously affected my life. Do you understand that? There's now a police report with my name on it, saying they responded to a domestic disturbance at this address. That doesn't just disappear. It was a misunderstanding, my mom tried. No, it was a manipulation tactic that backfired, I corrected. You wanted to punish me for not giving you my money, so you tried to get the cops to force me out of the house. Except the cops saw through it, Joel told the truth, and now you're stuck with the consequences. My mom started crying again. The performance tears were back. I just wanted you to care about this family, she sobbed. I do care about this family, I said. But I'm not going to let you financially manipulate me. Joel can make whatever choices he wants with his money, but mine is mine. I've worked too hard and saved too much to hand it over, just to satisfy your need for control. My dad tried to play peacemaker. Can't we just agree that everyone made mistakes and move forward? What mistakes did I make? I asked. Working hard, saving money, refusing to be treated like a child? He didn't have an answer for that. I laid out my terms. I was done living there. I'd stay with Dave for another week while I found a place to rent. It wouldn't be ideal for my savings plan, but I'd rather pay rent and have peace than live there for free and deal with this drama. I'd come by to pack my stuff when they gave me a day they'd be out of the house because I didn't want another confrontation. My mom tried to protest. You're just going to leave? Just like that? You called the cops on me and lied about me being violent, I said. Yeah, I'm leaving. Just like that. I stayed at Dave's for another week. During that time, something interesting happened. My mom apparently tried to do damage control with extended family. She called my aunt and uncle and told them some version of events that made her look like the victim. My aunt called me. She'd always been pretty level-headed, and we had a good relationship. She wanted to hear my side of the story. I explained everything. The months of pressure to hand over my paychecks, the spreadsheet, the fight that morning, the false police report. I told her about the body cam footage and how the cops said in their report that the claims couldn't be substantiated. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. She called the police on you, my aunt finally said, and made false claims? Yep, she trailed off. That's really concerning behavior. My aunt told me she'd talk to my mom. I don't know exactly what was said in that conversation, but apparently it wasn't pretty. My mom called me 2 days later, and this time she actually sounded sorry instead of just performing sorry. I talked to your aunt, she said. She made me realize how serious what I did was. It took your sister telling you for you to realize that filing a false police report was serious? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. I was just so frustrated. Joel contributes so much, and you act like we're not a family. Mom, Joel gives you $500 every 2 weeks. I contribute by not being a burden. Those are different kinds of contributions, and one isn't better than the other. Your aunt said the same thing, she admitted. Your aunt is right. We talked for about an hour. She finally admitted that it wasn't actually about the money. She said she felt like she was losing control of her kids as we got older. Joel handing over his money made her feel needed and important. Me refusing to do the same made her feel like I was pulling away from the family. I explained to her that being an independent adult doesn't mean I don't care about family. It means I'm preparing for my own future so I don't become a burden later. The fact that I was saving for a condo instead of blowing money on stuff I didn't need was actually a sign of maturity and planning, not selfishness. She seemed to understand. Or at least, she said she understood. Time would tell if it stuck. I found a small apartment about 20 minutes from my parents' house. It wasn't my ideal situation. I'm paying $1,350 a month now instead of saving that money. But the peace of mind is worth it. No more walking on eggshells. No more passive-aggressive comments. No more feeling guilty about my own paycheck. The apartment hunting process was therapeutic. I spent a week looking at different places, and each one represented a step away from the chaos. The place I ended up choosing was a one-bedroom in an older building. Nothing fancy, but it had good natural light and was in a quiet neighborhood. Moving day was interesting. I told my parents I'd come by to pack when they were out. My dad agreed to take my mom out for the day. Joel offered to help me pack, which was unexpected. We worked in relative silence, just boxing up my stuff. Most of my furniture was still from college. and I'd been living pretty minimally. Clothes, books, computer setup, kitchen stuff. It all fit into Dave's truck in one trip. About halfway through packing, Joel said, "I get why you're leaving." I looked at him. "Yeah? Yeah. Mom's been different lately. More controlling. I thought it was just with you, but I'm starting to see it with me too." That was the beginning of Joel actually waking up to what was happening. The really interesting part came about 2 weeks after I moved out. Joel called me and asked if we could meet for coffee. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We met at a place near my new apartment, and Joel looked uncomfortable from the moment he sat down. "I need to tell you something," he started. "Mom's been taking most of my paycheck." "I know," I said. "You give it to her every 2 weeks." "No, I mean she's been taking almost all of it. She gives me back like $50 to $100 and keeps the rest." I raised my eyebrows. "Okay, that's what you agreed to." "I didn't really agree to it," he said. "She kind of pushed me into it. Said I needed to contribute to the household. I thought I'd be getting most of it back, just managing it through her. But she's been keeping it." "What's she doing with it?" I asked. Joel shrugged. "I don't know. She says it's going to household expenses, but like you said, they don't really need it. The house is paid off. Dad's got his pension." I asked her about it last week, and she got really defensive. "What do you want me to do about it?" I asked. "I want to stop giving her my money," he said. "But I don't know how to bring it up without her freaking out. After what happened with you and the cops, I'm kind of scared she'll do something like that to me." This was an interesting development. The golden child was realizing he'd been played. "So open your own bank account and stop giving her access," I said. "You're 24. You don't need your mother managing your money. She's going to be so mad," he said. "Probably," I agreed. "But you've got two choices. Keep letting her control your money and your life, or grow up and take control of your own finances." We talked for another hour. I gave him some basic financial advice: how to set up a budget, how to save, how to actually start building towards something instead of just floating through life with no plan. The conversation with Joel made me realize something. My mom wasn't trying to help him by managing his money. She was keeping him dependent so she could feel needed. The whole contributions to the household thing was just a way to maintain control. Joel did end up opening his own account and telling my mom he wouldn't be giving her his paychecks anymore. According to him, she cried and yelled and tried every guilt trip in the book. But he held firm. The body cam incident had apparently freaked him out enough to realize that our mom had some serious boundary issues. My dad called me after that. He said my mom was really upset that both of her sons were abandoning the family. I told him that having healthy boundaries isn't abandonment, and maybe he should have a conversation with his wife about why she feels the need to control her adult children's finances. He didn't like that answer, but honestly, I was done caring about people not liking answers that were true. It's been about 6 weeks since the whole police incident. I'm settled into my apartment. My savings plan is delayed but not destroyed. I've got my peace of mind back. Joel and I actually talk more now than we did when I lived at home, and he's starting to get his life together. He's looking into full-time positions and actually has money in his own account for the first time in months. My mom and I talk occasionally, but it's surface-level stuff. She hasn't apologized for the false police report in any meaningful way. She still thinks she was justified in feeling threatened, even though everyone, including the cops, told her she was wrong. My aunt told me recently that my mom has been complaining to relatives that both her sons are selfish and don't care about family. Most of our relatives just smile and nod, because that's what you do with family drama. But my aunt and a few cousins reached out to me privately to say they understood my side and thought I handled it well. The body cam footage thing was interesting. About 3 weeks after it happened, my mom tried to tell my uncle, Dad's brother, that I'd been violent and the police had to remove me from the house. My uncle mentioned it to my dad, who actually, for once, told the truth and said that wasn't what happened. My uncle called me and asked about it. I explained the situation and mentioned that there was body cam footage showing exactly what happened. He asked if there was a way to get the footage, and I said he could probably request it through the police department since it was public record. He did, and he watched it. Then he sent it to a few other family members. My mom was not happy when she found out that multiple relatives had watched footage of her making false claims to the police, and then having those claims contradicted by her own son and the officers. She tried to spin it as me turning the family against her, but the footage was pretty clear. You can't really argue with video evidence of you lying to cops. The fallout from the video spreading through the family was honestly fascinating to watch. First, my uncle watched it and called my dad. Then he sent it to his wife, who watched it and called my other aunt. Then that aunt called my mom directly to ask what was going on. My mom apparently tried to explain it away as, the video doesn't show the full context, and you had to be there to understand. But body cam footage is pretty comprehensive. It shows the cops arriving, my mom making her claims, me calmly explaining what actually happened, and Joel contradicting her story. My cousin Amanda called to ask if I was okay. She'd watched the footage and was genuinely concerned. Your mom seemed really unstable in that video, she said. She also told me that my mom had been calling different relatives trying to control the narrative. She called my mom and said you'd been violent and threatening for months. But then mom watched the video and realized that wasn't what happened at all. My mom made one last attempt to get ahead of the story. She sent a group text to the whole family, like 20 plus people, saying that she felt attacked and unsafe in her own home, and that the police video was taken out of context. My aunt responded to the group text with, "The video shows pretty clearly what happened. Maybe we should all focus on moving forward instead of assigning blame." My mom didn't respond to the group text after that. The family dynamic has shifted. Some relatives still take her side because that's easier than acknowledging she has issues. But a lot of them have been more distant with her and more supportive of me. It's nice to have validation that I wasn't crazy for thinking the situation was messed up. The most satisfying part? About a month after I moved out, my mom sent me a text saying, "We miss having you around the house. It's not the same without you." I didn't respond. 2 days later, she sent another text. "Your father's birthday is next week. You should come to dinner." I responded, "I'll send him a card." She called me immediately. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message about how I was tearing the family apart and how disappointed she was in me. Deleted it without finishing it. Joel sent me a text last week. He'd just gotten his first full-time job offer at a renewable energy company. Benefits, paid time off, actual career progression potential. He was moving out next month and wanted to know if I had any advice on apartment hunting. I met him for lunch and helped him look through listings. Told him what to look for, what questions to ask landlords, how to budget for moving expenses. He was actually taking notes on his phone. "Mom's been asking me to stay," he said between bites of his sandwich. "Says the house will be too empty with both of us gone." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I'm 24 and need to start my own life." He grinned. She didn't take it well. Apparently my mom had a full meltdown when Joel told her he was moving out. Crying, yelling, the whole performance. She told him he was being selfish and ungrateful. Told him he was abandoning her just like I did. Joel didn't budge. He signed a lease on a studio apartment 2 weeks later. My mom tried one last power play. She told Joel she wouldn't help him move unless he made things right with the family first. Joel rented a truck and moved himself. I showed up to help. So did Dave. So did 2 of Joel's friends from his new job. My mom called me while we were loading boxes. I answered this time. "You're really going to help him do this?" she asked. "Yeah, Mom, I am." "You've turned him against me." "No, I showed him what boundaries look like. There's a difference." She hung up on me. Joel's been in his new place for 2 weeks now. He texted me a photo of his first solo dinner, ramen and grilled chicken. Nothing fancy, but he was proud of it. Said it was the first meal he'd made without someone criticizing how he cooked it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.